Hey everyone, my name is Johnny from JCS Guns. Today we want to talk about the Rifle Basix trigger assembly. With this model, this one is for the 110 model. It does replace the 111, the 11, the 12, and this model can replace the factory trigger and the factory Accu trigger. This one does adjust from 1 pound to 3 pounds. It comes with installation instructions. It's pretty easy, real common sense stuff. But basically, I wanted to point out a couple of different things that that the instruction manual doesn't really come out and say, but it's real simple stuff that I like to point out. And let me show you that stuff right now. Some of the adjustments, as you can see, this thing has quite a bit of play there, but that's okay because once you close your bolt, you have no play. Once you pull on your trigger, squeeze your trigger, okay, the over travel adjustment screw here at the end, there's where this is supposed to be kind of snug. But if you tighten it too tight, when you open up your bolt, this part will not go forward. So you need to get it to the point where it's just barely sliding by and has very, very little or no play at all. As you can see, as I pull the bolt, it starts going forward, where it starts getting ready to get re-engaged right here in this part here. So when I start closing my bolt, it locks back into place there again. So what happens is, this is a set screw to adjust the pressure of your weight for your trigger pull. If you happen to readjust this and make it lighter, you're gonna have to readjust this screw again, because if not, if it doesn't have the correct play, you'll have what you would call a slam fire. When you go ahead and close your bolt hard and close your bolt, this part is going to come back down, like as if you had squeezed the trigger. So that's just some of the stuff that I wanted to point out. This set screw here is to adjust for your safety, for the safety pressure. And so then this one here, like I said earlier, is to adjust the overall pressure or trigger pull pressure on this one right here. But if you adjust this one, do not forget to readjust this one. Another thing I noticed is that this part is hitting the back of the stock. Let me go ahead and bring the stock and put it in frame so you can see. The over travel adjusting screw is hitting right at this edge right here. I'm not saying that it's going to hit in all different models or rifles that are out there, but on this case it's hitting right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set it up on the milling machine, and I'm going to end mill part of this, make this groove a little bit farther, giving me extra clearance. Now you can probably do it with a Dremel, or I'm sure there's a couple of other devices that you can probably do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it with the end mill. Okay, I thought since I was here, I would go ahead and unadjust everything and show you what I was talking about earlier. So right here, the bolt's open. You can see that you have the in play, moves quite a bit. You can see this part right here. As soon as I start closing the bolt, this part's going to come and lock up to there. Okay, so now we have it locked up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the trigger. And so what happens is this is the one that gives you adjustment for this to move up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my bolt, and like if I was going to rechamber, at that point when I start doing this should start moving back to go ahead and sit up here. So if this is not adjusted correctly, that will not go back. So if you loosen it, it goes back, meaning you still have that play. It locks in place. You pull, you reopen it, it goes back, locks into place. So if this part is too tight, after you pull your trigger, this portion will not go back. So that is about the right adjustment. I mean, I still might need to play with it a little bit more, but if you have too much play, it'll be too loose. So what you want is not to have that play right there. So you're gonna have to kind of play with it and move it very little at a time until you get the adjustment that you need. Adjustment or weight of pull adjustment screw. Basically, if you try to get this thing as light as you possibly can, if you close your bolt slowly, or maybe not, but what I was trying to say is that if you adjust it too light, this part might not engage. Sometimes they'll grab and you'll have a real light pull, but if you happen to be out in the field and you do a slam fire, it's going to go off. So you need to try to make sure that you adjust this to a reasonable weight where if you're going to be out in the field, it works slowly. And see, like right there, I hit it pretty hard and this part is not engaging. So to me, that's still, it'll be too light for a rifle that's going to be used out in the field. I mean, if you're going to be sitting in a bench and loading slowly and pointing in a safe direction, that might be okay. But if you happen to slam fire it, see, that's what you want. It's staying engaged. So to me, that would be a good adjustment. Okay guys, we got the barrel action back together already. We did red Loctite. We tightened up our bolts to 65 inch-pounds, and we did some trigger pulls, and we got 1 pound 15 ounces, and twice we got 1 pound 14 ounces. So the trigger's pretty consistent. It's very smooth, no play. Seems like the trigger's doing its job. Like I said earlier, this is Rifle Basix trigger. And basically they make it for different brands and models: Remingtons, Rugers, Marlins, CZ, Savage, Brownies, and Winchester. Another good thing about it is it's also made in the USA. So give these guys a call, see if they can hook you up with something for your rifle. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and install some Badger rings, our 9.4 scope, and we're going to go test it out in the field. So stay tuned, we'll have another video coming up and doing a review on this rifle.